Without a shadow of a doubt, I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone and tell you thank you, thank you for taking time out to tune in. And without you guys, I would not have a show. I really would not. So it's always important to tell you thank you for taking time out to tune in to somebody that most days they say is crazy, but I'm really not. So out to tune in. Let me turn it down. Say they think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I think the elephant in the room today, we could talk about Biden, we could talk about Trump, but no, we need to talk about what's going on down here in the city of Houston. And unless you've been living under a rock, we are in the middle of a Texas education agency takeover. And what that means is that the state of Texas is about to take over the largest school district in the state of Texas, the richest school district in the state of Texas, because they say we don't know how to run our school district. We've not performed at the level that they wanted us to perform at. Well, I tell you what, I got a good friend of mine in here tonight that made some major moves. Michelle Williams, introduce yourself to the people and tell them who you with.
My name is Michelle Williams, and thank you for inviting me onto your platform. My name is Michelle Williams, and I am the president of the Houston Education Association. We are an affiliate of the Texas Teachers Association and an affiliate of the National Education Association, the largest educators union in the nation. And I am a local president in Houston ISD. I'm also a Houston ISD employee, and we're the voice of the people actually doing the work.
I tell you what, I want to share a screen with you guys, and we're going to start the show off tonight with a video. So push the share button, because all of y'all that's been calling Monroe, Michelle, Larry, Travis all day long, you don't want to miss this tonight. So tune in and let's crank it up like this.
Is a legal fight that's been brewing for years now, we know, and will impact almost 200,000 students. HISD could be under entirely new leadership as early as this Monday.
And that's news from Mayor Turner, who said he's heard on good authority the state's takeover of its largest district is coming quick. So what does this really mean? ABC 13's Chaz Miller is live here to explain. Hi, Chaz.
Guys, yeah, the mayor came into city council a little bit late this morning. He was clearly shaken up before he sat down and talked to everybody about this potential takeover. You might remember this had been talked about as far back as 2019, but the mayor said HISD has been doing well since then and that this would be a big overstep if the Texas Education Agency did in fact take over HISD. So what exactly would happen should that take place? Well, here you've got Superintendent Millard House. He's been there since only 2021, and the entire school board. Well, TEA would come in, and every person you see on this screen, well, they would be gone. They'd be removed from their post and replaced by somebody at the choosing of the TEA. That did not sit well with the mayor. He talked about this for quite some time today in council, talking about how this was a clear overreach of what they should be doing. Again, he said that HISD has been performing well since 2019. And he also said that he was told by the chair of the TEA that should this takeover happen, the city would get 24 hours notice prior to such a takeover. Obviously, the mayor says that's not enough time. He's also lamenting the fact that parents in the district would not really have any say in anything that takes place. Once again, this has been a possibility since 2019. Now the mayor says it could come any day now.
In the last few days, I've been hearing more and more. And then as of this morning, I was talking with one of the legislators who sits on Public Education Committee. And again, raising concerns and wanted me to be aware. Explain to me how this is in the best interest of the 190,000 students, their parents, the community, or the city.
So the mayor went on to say that he has heard that even a new superintendent has been chosen, not somebody from within the state of Texas. This is a story we'll in a few hours. We'll talk to that more about how the mayor says this is just a total overreach by the state government. In the studio, I'm Chaz Miller, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
So you're probably
Well, that's the elephant in the room. And they say they would give us 24-hour notice. I don't think we'll have 24-hour notice. We've been on notice for like the last 5 years. We've really been on notice for like the last 5 years. And I'm gonna start it off with a question to Michelle. After hearing what the mayor just said, what are your thoughts?
It's really disheartening to hear, because I started out teaching in HISD in 2000, and most of my career has been in HISD. And to hear that TEA is going to take over the largest school district in the state of Texas, it makes me wonder, what are you going to do with it? Because TEA can't take care of his own business. And we have District 2, where I work at. I am very concerned about those schools, because when TEA came in and replaced the board in Beaumont ISD, schools like my school were turned over to charters, and they were trying. A lot of the board members that don't look like me and you were trying to get rid of some of the schools in District 2. They were trying. So with handpicked people who serve the governor, that is a real possibility that the schools that exist in District 2, like Cashmere High School, Wheatley, all of those schools, there is a real possibility that they will be chartered operated. And that's sad, because our students need structure. They need a feeder pattern. And, I'm of the opinion, we're going to wait and see what happens, and we'll deal with it then. But we need, we need the community come out. And if you don't want things to change, because they are gunning for our schools, they are.
Well, I'll probably play devil's advocate on a few things. When I think about it, who's at fault for this? This is how I think. And you came in 2000. I've been around for 14 years. And in 14 years, we've been begging for equity.
Yep.
In 14 years, we still have schools that are failing. They'll go in our R, they'll get out our R, they'll go back in our R. We can't seem to have consistency with our schools performing. We have trustees that have been indicted by the FBI for money laundering. We've had the Larry Marshall debacle. We've had folks selling off contracts. In business, there's only so much that you can put up with before you become a liability. There was so much hope when Millard House got here. People, that Latham was gone. Dr. Latham was gone. So now House comes in, and, people were like, Monroe, give him a chance. And, I say, well, okay, at the gate, I'm going to give him a shot. I'm going to give him a shot. Let's see what he's working with. Because I didn't care if he was black, white, whatever. It didn't matter to me. I just needed somebody that could really do what they needed to do. And it didn't take me a month to figure out that he got in bed with the wrong people. You started trusting the wrong people, listening to the wrong people. So when I hear the mayor speak, I have zero respect for him at this point, because the mayor was one of those people that had a team of people when our 11 schools were under attack. He had a team of people that he was going to bring in to charter our schools. The charter game is where it's at. And the thing that people need to understand is these people are not in the kid business. They're in the real estate business. They're in the real estate business. So, for me, where did it start at? Where was the ball dropped, Michelle? How did we even get to this point?
Honestly, I fault the board members. The Jolanda Jones era, they started with Terry Greer, and they allowed him to do a lot of things and weren't listening to the public. And that was the beginning of the end of the HISD that I knew. coming in, because until Terry Greer got into that seat, it was too late. He messed up the largest bond that HISD had in the district's history. He messed that up, but he shouldn't have had the opportunity to mess over it. You know, Sam Houston High School was reconstituted under Terry Greer. And based on what I knew, I had never known any HISD school to go into academic corrective action until that happened. And it's been downhill ever since. He got rid of all our strong leaders. He got rid of all the great teachers. So that's where I feel like the demise of HISD went.
I think Greer, from what I remember Larry saying, got rid of close to 800 teachers.
Yep.
Close to 800 teachers. And those were those long tenured teachers, those older teachers that knew how to control classrooms, that actually knew how to teach. Didn't matter if they were teaching a test. They just flat out knew how to teach. You know, like you, I mean, 2000 to now, it doesn't matter what you do, you know how to teach. And they can't take those years of services from you. Everything you say, I co-sign on it. I'm with you. Greer was an utter failure. The Greer era was an utter failure. But I'll take us back a little bit further. This is where, you know, I think we started going completely downhill was with Rod Page.
No child I remember him.
No child left behind.
Yep.
This is when you just started creating a diploma mill. This is why kids can't read, because you didn't want to leave any kids behind. So we just going to keep pushing little Johnny through, and then he's going to get to high school and he's reading on the second grade level. You see what I'm saying? So the failure started many, many moons ago. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be honest, my good friend D Harris, let me put her comment up. What do Sheila Jackson Lee have to do with the schools? You want me to sing it for you? Not a goddamn thing. They have no stroke in this game right now. This has gone to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has ruled. HISD did not appeal the ruling. So therefore, the Supreme Court has to give the mandate, which is what I got in my lawsuit, where at the end, the mandate is passed down. And when the mandate is passed down, basically it's law. So, and I'm not saying that in a bad way with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if every black politician in the city, every Latino politician in the city, every white one raises hell right now. What's done is done. What's done is done. And I'm like, Michelle, now I got to sit back and I got to wait, because we know for a fact that elementary schools are going to be attacked with low enrollment. They're going to be, it ain't no threatening to close them. They're going to close some. Now, will they be equitable in that? I doubt it. But this is the skin that we are in right now. You know, I think that people have to understand what comes with the takeover. You know, of course, what comes with a takeover is that, one, they're going to come in, they're going to wipe the board out. They don't have to remove the superintendent, but they're going to remove him. After 20 months, why should they keep him? The question I would ask Michelle, and maybe she can answer this, can you show me anything that in 20 months that Millard House has done to help kids? That kind of answered it for y'all. So when you think about it like that, on his job for 20 months, and even an employee can't say what you've done for children, then why would they keep him? So the board will be removed. He will be removed. Now, I want to talk about the board. I've seen some very dysfunctional boards in my 14 years. Very, very dysfunctional, corrupt boards in my 14 years. But I think this board was trying.
They were.
They were trying, and I think that they were on the right track. I just don't think they had enough time to do what they wanted to do. But at the same time, some of them are brand new. That to me, they're brand new. Myrna Guidry, Kendall Baker, Bridget Wade, brand new. And now they lose, technically, they lose their seats. How do you feel about that, Michelle?
It's unfair because the fight that we saw with Wanda Adams jumping up and towering over her colleague, they were not a part of that. They weren't. So they're basically being penalized for something they had no knowledge of or had their hand in it. It was the previous board that put this into play. And some of them are still on the board that had their hand in it.
Well, that's what I was about to say. If they could cherry pick who they wanted off the board and keep some board members, it's no doubt that they would go after a couple of them that was there when all of this went on. But I think that this board here was one of the better boards that I've seen in 14 years. And it's so good that I ran in District 9 against Myrna Guidry. And I get to talk to my trustee all the time. She's my trustee. And I told her, even if they remove you, if you come back later and you can run again, I won't run against you because I saw the work that you were doing. I saw what you were trying to do. And I think that's a compliment to her. I feel bad for trustees like Bridget Wade, who Bridget is a firestorm in a calm manner. She's very, very educated. That takes nothing away from the rest of the board members, but I'm not going to name all of them. But to watch them campaign as hard as they did and then to be removed, it reminds me of the dope game, Michelle. And what I mean by that shit come with it.
Yeah.
Jacking folks, getting caught in the turning lane, folks running off with your dope, that come with the dope game. Getting removed as a trustee, it come with the game. So I hate to see it done. But here's the thing. Right now, you got a lot of people and a lot of groups, because I don't want to leave them out, like the CVPs and the Houston GPSs, and they were out there campaigning and lobbying for some of these board members that you named. Ooh, if you could tell them one thing, because think about it, we've had some great candidates run for school board during from 20, from 2000, me in 14 years, we've had some phenomenal people to run for the board, but yet never get a shot. Like our brother Larry McKenzie never got a shot in District 4. Never got a shot. What do you think, or what do you have to say to those groups that kept promoting some of these failed trustees?
Just like with any organization, I have a different lens when it comes to things. And I think that we need to have a wider lens as how we're supporting people, because we're not going to agree on everything. We're not. But the things that we can agree on and the people that are for what we need them to be for, not necessarily, but then some organizations have their own agenda. But my agenda is the kid agenda. It's the teacher agenda. What's best for teachers and students. But we need to have a wider lens as when we're looking at people and who we're going to put in these seats. I was at Stacy Child's event yesterday, and she was talking about how do we she's the state board, for those of you all who don't know her, she's the state board for educator board member. She had an event yesterday. How do we make education better for Black children? Because they're failing. They're our failing demographic, even more so the kids that don't speak the language. So Stacy Childs, I don't agree with everything she's doing, but what she's doing is good for kids, So even with the whole charter school bit, I worked at a charter school. I believe that charters have the right to exist. However, I don't believe that you take money from the current system to fund charters, because we have a Robin Hood funding, and even with me as a union leader, I think we need to start looking at that a little differently, and like who we're supporting, because at the end of the day, we're going to have to reach across the aisle. You can't keep doing things that aren't working. What's that? The definition of insanity?
Mhm.
So, like, it's insane to keep putting the same people in when, you got to give other people a fair shot. You do.
Well, I totally agree with you. I think the school board was like the bottom feeder of the recycling of politicians, where if you
Yeah.
failed somewhere else, then you ended up going run for the school board, and then you could sit on the school board. But see, here's the problem. When you put all these people on the school board that don't have an educational background, that don't really understand how education works, then you run into a problem because they have to make crucial decisions. And a lot of days they don't really know what to do. You see what I'm saying? We got a question strictly for you. I know you can't see them. So the question is, HFT has apparently completely given up on trying to change Texas legislation for Texas teachers. Does your union believe in collective bargaining for Texas teachers?
I do. I definitely believe in collective bargaining, especially in the day and age of we're short teachers. HISD, since the pandemic, we have a 5,000 teacher shortage turnover rate every year since the pandemic. So yes, collective bargaining and giving us the right to bargain our contract, wages, work conditions, it would make this a stronger state. But here's the thing. You have to understand tax abatement. And that is a word that most people don't know about. Tax abatement is when the city of Houston brings in all these companies and give them 10-year reprieves from paying taxes. We lose over $2 billion a year in school taxes to corporations. So, you're fighting politicians on, bringing businesses, and they collective bargaining. They, companies don't like unions. They don't. And unfortunately, Texas is big on giving our school taxes away. If we would fully fund schools and stop giving these companies these breaks on taxes, charter schools could be funded as well as the regular traditional public school. But
Well, let me ask you a question then, because it's just a question. How do we know we don't get enough money in HISD when they still in half of it?
HISD is a different case because it's the largest school district. It's different because it has a lot of money. We do our RFP system. For those of you all who don't know, that's the request for proposal. I've always screamed about, why are we paying, like, a Chromebook on retail is $100. For HISD to pay for a Chromebook, it's $300-400 for what? We don't have a competitive system, and it just does not make any sense. It's not conducive to what we need to do. Because, say for instance, a school gets $100,000 to buy computers, but you eat it up because the cost, the markup is 300% than what the retail value is. So you have people that have come back, have worked for the district, got friends in the district, get contracts with the district. So that whole situation, everybody is feeding off HISD and benefiting from it, except for the people that are working in the system, that are doing the work and the children, everybody. That, and unfortunately, that's how it works. I've seen people with this whole contract thing. It really is like it's kind of
It's organized crime.
Yep, it is. It is. And I've seen it. I was in East Baton Rouge Parish, and it's the same thing, these contracts, but it's so lucrative in HISD that it's ridiculous. They get a contract, you don't understand. People live for these contracts because they know it's big bucks, and they come after HISD all of the time. But we do get enough money. We do. But they, we're top heavy, and we've all screamed about that. We're top heavy. And I'm going to be honest with you, there are a lot of teachers out there that agree with me. We have school support officers. We got
that don't do nothing. They don't do jack shit, some of them.
Right. And you got everybody's making $100,000 except for the teachers. So, and the school, why do we need school support officers? Why? Let
me ask you a question as you speak on teachers' pay, because I want your opinion. You have been here almost 23 years. And I know you're still in that 5-figure range, right? How do you feel knowing that the secretary for the superintendent makes 6 figures and you make 5?
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
He makes 6 figures to bring him coffee.
That is bananas. When you're paying your clerks that are doing work. Now, those clerks go through so much dealing with the community, and you pay them, it's not even really, they still can qualify for benefits. So that's crazy. That is news to me.
Yeah, he makes 6 figures while you making 5, and you've been here 23 years. And he ain't been here a good 6. But let me make the people aware. There will be major hiccups to this takeover. Do I think that they will be successful? No. And it's not that they can't do it. HISD is too big. It's just too big. It's just too big. And I don't care what they think coming up in here to deal with this monster. This is not Beaumont. This is not Beaumont ISD where you did a takeover. This is HISD. Right. So the thing is, if you think that you're going to come in here and parents will not have a voice, you're going to get a rude awakening. You're going to get a rude awakening. You may have a couple of meetings shut down because we will have a voice. There's no question about it. But from a teacher's perspective, do you think this takeover will affect teachers coming back? Do you think it will increase the teacher shortage?
Oh, it's definitely going to increase because a lot of teachers don't know what it entails. And with historically, like DeSoto ISD, Beaumont ISD, schools went to charter schools. So if a teacher is in a school, because we were talking about school closures before all of this happened, it's probably going to make teachers head for the hills. And teachers are a hot commodity. They are going to leave. They're going to leave. Because
would you recommend them? Would you recommend them leaving at this point?
I recommend them to do, if they feel like they need to leave, I recommend that they go ahead and do it. Because if you feel like it's not a place where you're going to have the stability that you feel like you're going to have in another district, you need to make the executive decision for your life and move on. And I'm saying that because teachers give enough. And teachers did not put HISD in this mess, and we're not going to be the ones to get them out of the mess. So
exactly,
self-preserve.
Exactly. Well, let's go over, because both of us have a heart for children, and I think that's what people want to know about. How does this now, with the takeover, with the vouchers, which I think they're going to push through, how does this affect our children as a whole?
It's going to take money from us, especially the kids that need it. So when I was in Louisiana, I was down there when the state dismantled Orleans Parish public school system. So I was
They
very
never recovered.
They have never recovered. And I say that because I've seen what a state takeover does. Orleans Parish wasn't great, but it was intact. But they took that system and dismantled it, and the kids suffered. So there were charter schools came in, preyed on Orleans Parish, got their money, and guess where they are? Gone. A lot of them have left the city, closed down, misappropriation of funds. It was so bad. They had stories coming out. Kids didn't have textbooks, for-profit charters just popping up everywhere. And I'm saying that to say, because that's a real possibility in our city. It really is.
Do you think it will increase the dropout rate?
Yeah, because if we lose our feeder patterns, the kids are not. So say, for instance, you have 5 elementary schools, and 5 of them are from 4 different charters. Because charters historically do not have feeder patterns. They come in as one stop. Only feeder pattern charters are Yes Prep and KIPP. That is it. So you have these little charter schools popping up. So the kids are going to be bouncing around with curriculum. There's not going to be any continuity of tracking the kids. It's going to be a mess because we're supposed to keep up. When our kids withdraw, we're supposed to keep up with where they're going. And that's a part of our accountability system. And it's going to be a mess. We're going to lose a feeder pattern should charters come in and take over, because they're going to be handing them out like it's candy. They're going to look at the schools that are weak, and that's what they did in Beaumont ISD. And the failing schools, they gave to charters. And currently District 2 has a lot of failing schools.
So here's another question, because I know we have these parents on here tonight. What about our special ed population? How does it affect them?
That charter schools do not want to take special ed students because special ed students cost a lot of money. A lot. They cost the school's budget plus what the state and federal dollars bring in. That's why you don't have a lot of special ed kids in charter schools. That's how they're able to survive. You know, people talk about, oh, charters are great. Yeah, they're great because they cherry pick the system. And when they get the money after October 31st, they start sending the kids back to their home schools. Well, if public schools could do that, we'd be great too. But unfortunately, we have to take everybody. When my parents of special ed kids try to go to charters, I don't recommend it. I tell them you're not going to get the services that you need at a charter school unless that charter that's their thing. Like I know in East Baton Rouge Parish, they have a charter that deals with dyslexia kids. You know, if that's their specialty, then that's different. But a regular charter school, no, they're not going to cut the mustard.
Let's slide over a little bit, and we're gonna talk about the vouchers. You know, everybody seems to be gung-ho on vouchers. And I'm gonna be honest with you. This is what I'm telling people, that I don't think the vouchers are going to affect the Black community as much as they think, because the private and parochial schools, if they give you a $10,000 voucher and say, well, take your kid over there to the private school, they're just going to raise their tuition up by $10,000 because they don't want them now.
Exactly.
So you will be stuck in the charter public school system of HISD. At the end of the day, what is your opinion on this voucher system that they want to put in place?
And people don't know this. I went to private school my whole life. I didn't go to public school until my junior year. So I only went to public school for 2 years. What I tell people, and this happened in Louisiana, they have the voucher system there. But you know what? The schools that used to be great that took vouchers, they became dumping grounds. They became dumping grounds because the governor tweeted out just, I want to say 2 days ago, about if the private schools take state funding, they have to follow the accountability system. So what school that's privately funded is going to take public funds and run off their base for kids that are working below grade level, and then you have to meet accountability standards where they've had all this freedom. There's not going to be very many prestigious Second Baptists. They're not taking TEA's money. Straight Jesuit, they're not taking TEA's money. Episcopal, they're not taking TEA's money. So what you're going to have is like these private, the Baptist schools trying to come in and educate, and that doesn't work either. In an accountability system that has crushed HISD, you think a charter school is going to get them out of that? They're going to be substandard entities that take the money because they're trying to survive. They're looking at the $9,000-$10,000 per student they can get coming in there, but they're going to fail. It's going to be so much failure that it's going to be unreal.
Now there will be major cuts. There will be money cut in HISD. I know in Beaumont they came through and they didn't start at the bottom. They started at the top.
Yep.
So all them people that's sitting in that administrative office and your partner hooked you up with a job, if I was you, I'd start putting in some resumes because they're going to start at the top because we are just too top heavy. And that's where all our money is. You know, a lot of our money is tied up in these frivolous lawsuits that HISD keeps getting involved in. Gary Monroe, can I get that $500,000 check, man? Y'all owe my lawyer, man. You see what I'm saying? And these are the things that's really got us. But a lot of people didn't realize, and Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad from the Nation of Islam in Houston has said it several times. He say in order for them to take over, something catastrophic has to happen. In New Orleans, it was Katrina. And that triggered it. Our catastrophe was the pandemic.
Yep.
And as soon as we look like we come out the pandemic, here it comes. Can we survive a state takeover, Michelle?
I'm going to say no. And that is my biggest concern. We will not survive this takeover. We won't. Because TEA has its own agenda. And the agenda is that $2.2 billion budget that HISD has. That is the agenda. It's not children. It's not education. It's not educating Black and brown kids. Because make no mistake, HISD is a Black and brown district. They don't care. What's going to end up happening is what Judith Cruz tried and Sue Digard tried to do. They're going to try to pull Bel Air out. That's what's going to happen. So you're going to see them dismantle HISD. You're going to see it because Bel Air, the city of Bel Air, they want out of HISD. Make no mistake. And if they come in and it goes like they say it's supposed to go, they're going to pull out. Because they tried that in Louisiana, where they tried to pull out one part, and it was a mess. And that's what I keep referring back to Louisiana, because all of this stuff has happened somewhere else. This is not new. This is not a new playbook. It's the same playbook being implemented in another city. They have tried all these things, but it didn't happen in East Baton Rouge Parish because it went to vote and the voters voted it down. So,
do you think that we have any allies? When I say that from the political side, because, you know, normally if you go to city council and you try to say something about schools, then the mayor will tell you we ain't really got nothing to do with schools. Do you think, and the look that I saw on his face in his interview makes me feel a certain kind of way, like it's some money, somebody finna mess up the church's money. Do you think that we have any political allies that, you know, a lot of these people, especially African American, I can't speak about other races, but African Americans, they lean on Boris, they lean on Sheila, they lean on Sophia. You see what I'm saying? They lean on these people. Do you think we have any political allies in this thing at this moment?
I'm just gonna say this: money talks, and you know, the bottom line is money. And you know, they may want to be an ally, but hey, when the cash is flowing, you know, people, you know, the Bible says for the love of money.
So I want to give everybody who's applauding this takeover, no matter if they're Republicans or Democrats, I want to give you a bit of information. And it comes out of your Bible that if you commit a sin against a child, if you come in here with your takeover and you don't do right by these kids, then God says that you should have a millstone wrapped around your neck and thrown into the deepest sea. And we ain't by no deep sea. We go over there to that dirty water at Galveston. But some of y'all gonna pay for what y'all have done, and some of y'all are gonna pay for what you plan on doing. So be careful with thinking you finna make a ton of money and all of this stuff here. So I think at this moment a bond would be out the question. What you think, Michelle? A bond would be out the question because ain't no sense of rebuilding schools that you possibly are about to close.
And it's bad for business. The city of Houston, I know that they're cringing because when you're trying to court businesses to come to your city, that you have to have a great school system because you're bringing your executives into the city. There's no great system. You have a system that is being taken over by the state. And I think it's just a larger play with them attacking democratic cities. I really do. And unfortunately, HISD played into their hands because they would like nothing better than to take control of Harris County.
Where's Rodney Ellis at right now? He's very, very quiet. You know, the only two people that I've seen stand up politically today and say something was, and I may have missed some of y'all, so if I did, forgive me, was Sylvester Turner, the mayor, and Jolanda Jones. And from what her tweet said, she spoke with Mike Morath, the TEA commissioner. And at this point, it's either close Wheatley or take over the school system. So if you had to make the decision, which one would it be?
I'm be honest with you. I'm be very frank. I love tradition, but I am not going to sacrifice the system for a school. That was HISD's fault. And I'm going to tell you, and I said that to Dr. Bird. I said, they messed up Wheatley. That was their fault. And that's the consequence of the action. So if people want to be upset at what happened, go down to Hattie Mae because they made that mistake. It wasn't, you cannot blame the people that were at the school. That was an HISD issue.
Now, I know a lot of people think that this will adversely affect African Americans, poor children, Latinos. white America, you shall not be spared in this takeover. It's going to affect you in ways that you could never imagine. Remember, you saw Orleans Parish. So it didn't matter if you were rich and white. It affected you. It affected you. How do you think this will affect? Because, you know, we run two different systems here. You know, we run, and I've always said we're a segregated school system. I've always believed that. How does you think this affects the affluent community compared to the poor community?
I think, what did they say about black when the United States is hungry, black people are starving, something like that. So it's going to affect them. Like I said, the city of Houston is not going to be this great city anymore because you have a failing school district. So with affluent people, it's that bottom line that drives their money. I mean, drive their decision making, drives everything, and their identities. So if you can't make money here, then what happens? If you can't make the type of money, you can't come here and say, okay, I'm gonna bring my family here, because HISD, like I said, is the largest school district in the state of Texas. You know, and truth be told, a lot of people believe in public school systems. My brother's an executive. So they believe in good public schools because they believe they're taxpayers. So, you know, it's going to affect them in ways that they don't know, because this has never been done. Like, you don't take over a school district that has almost 300 schools. So, and they don't understand, you have 11,000 teachers. In total, we have 27,000 employees. Who is going to, you would have to break off the school district. You would have to. It's too much. You have buses, you have bus barns, you have schools in deplorable conditions. You know, you just taking on problem after problem. What are you going to do?
Should they have taken on North Forest?
Nope. Again, Terry Greer. He's the gift that kept on giving.
They saw money in taking over North Forest. And you know what's so crazy? They took over North Forest and they never did those kids right out there. They never did those schools right out there.
No, because and they were saying that HISD, that area was struggling anyway. It wasn't as bad as it is now, but you took on a failing system to a failing area that was struggling anywhere. What do you think was going to happen? You know, the schools, from what I understand, they were in deplorable conditions. HISD had to go in and get a lot of the schools up to standard. They made a lot of repairs on those schools. Like Forest Brook right now needs a new roof. It's leaking. It is corroded and rusted around the edges. It leaks.
Most of those schools, like Forest Brook, has a lot of asbestos in them.
It has a lot of everything. It does. Yeah. You know, it's just a lot of things that are, you know, our schools. Cashmere Garden failed. It floods. Let it rain. It floods over there inside of the courtyard, where so much so that the trash cans float around. The plumbing backs up. It's a lot of stuff that's wrong with these schools. But
Millard House, and this is what I'm gonna say, and you can chime in if you choose. He could have made a difference. He really could have. But I think, and I told him, I had a virtual meeting with him, I think about a month and a half after he first got here. A virtual meeting. And I told him at that time, your deputy superintendent is setting you up. He's setting you up for failure. Well, I know Miller's at the house right now, probably drinking him a cold Bud Light and blowing on that gas, saying that little fat. He was right. He was right. But I'm going to see how your heart is, because you seem to have a good heart. Do you give a damn if Miller House ain't got no job by Monday?
I'm going to say this. I don't find it joy in people losing their jobs. But I do agree that he could have made a difference for our school district. And I have been very vocal with that with our trustee. And I told her he has not done what he needed to do for the African American community. I will stand on that. I have not seen him stand up for Black children like he should have in HISD. Our schools, he put principals at our schools that shouldn't be principals. You know, he did not look out for the kids that look like him.
Well, I'll tell you something. I agree with you putting principals that were not ready to be principals, and that to me was a setup on the school side, and that made the school unstable, and then the school would struggle. Seems like we said in the beginning, he got in bed with the wrong people, because somebody must have promised him something, and now the devil's coming back to get his soul. So, I think that at the end of the day, he could have been great. But, 20 months later, the failure is obvious. You have a chief of schools, Denise Watts, and one of her job functions is to visit the schools at least once a month. So that would keep her pretty busy if she had to visit, 270 schools. But this lady doesn't come to the schools. She doesn't come, but yet she knows what's best for our children. I really don't have no major beef with Sean Bird. I'm gonna give him the business every chance I get, but I think he's in over his head. Rick Cruz, I'm gonna go to Rick Cruz, because this is where the multitude of the failures in these last 20 months have come from. No matter if people want to say it or not, Rick Cruz is a con man who realistically got in bed with some sharks. And he made some decisions, and I said it the other night, he went on a revenge tour when he got the job and just started firing people here and there, getting rid of people that were actually moving the needle. What is your perception of the deputy superintendent of the Houston Independent School District?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't really had to deal with him. Only thing I really knew about him, he was over that Emerge program. But as far as him being in major roles, major players, I was, to be honest with you, shocked when he became the deputy superintendent, because I was like, I thought he was the Emerge guy. But I haven't ever really had to deal. I've never had one conversation with him ever.
Yeah, I think we didn't kind of shot ourselves in the foot. And I'm gonna be honest with every one of you teachers out there. You're going to need a good union. You may need to get with Michelle. I know that she's a fighter and that she's gonna go to war for you. You need to get the hell up out of HFT, because that ain't where you need to be right now. Not with what we got going on. You are going to be on the outside looking in, and ain't nobody going to fight for you. So you might need to look at switching unions. And if they switch the union, I know HFT is about $600 a year. How much are they paying to be in that union over there with you?
As a matter of fact, we are cheaper than HFT. We are, I think HFT is at $700 now. We're $500 $1,228 a year, and our paraprofessionals only pay $12 or $16 a pay period. It's real cheap for our we call them educational support people, but we are different than HFT. People ask me all the time. I was a long standing member of HFT. I was on their board before I left, and I just felt like teachers need to be at the forefront of everything. We don't get paid to do this. I do this because I want teachers to have a true voice. We're differently structured. So if you're looking for another union to jump ship, and especially with this takeover, he's definitely right. HFT is not going to have standing like you all thought they had. They're just not. It's a lot of things that work behind the scenes.
But maybe with a board of managers coming in, them being the only union that can be in monthly consultation,
right?
Which I'd never agreed on.
I didn't.
I mean, how does one union get to speak for all the unions?
When they don't even control 20% of the teacher workforce, the teachers in HISD, they don't have 20% of the membership, from what I was told. And I never agreed with that, because everybody, ATP should be there. We should be there. Everybody should bring a voice to the table, because you can't represent 27,000 employees. You can't. I don't have any vendetta against HFT. I feel like we have a lot more to offer teachers, because we support them from a different perspective, especially first-year teachers. A lot of my first-year teachers, I go in and defend them myself. I had one of my members move from a school just this school year. She was a first-year teacher. So we do, in essence, we do the same thing. Jay Will is asking, what is your union name? It's the Houston Education Association.
Yeah, I put it up there.
Okay. You can find us.
Y'all. Michelle will go to war for her teachers. She will go to war for her teachers. Now, for me, I want to let the world know that for many, many moons, I've been telling y'all that the chickens was going to come home to roost. And I also told you that if you didn't listen to me, that it would cost you in the end. So I want to make y'all aware, and I'm going to say the announcement tonight. It is the world premiere of Monroe consultation price increase. So when you call me, the numbers starting Monday morning will not resemble the numbers from this week. It will cost you more money because you did not listen. Now, so that people understand, they say, well, the state's going to take over. Are we dealing with this forever? How does it work, Michelle, when they take over? How do we get our board members back?
5 years. Beaumont ISD just got their board members back. It's 5 years.
And then they'll start, because we have 9, they'll do one year, they'll do 3. And then I think the next year they'll do 3 more. And then the final year they'll do 3 more. But by that time, they done tore it up.
Yep.
And I want people to understand that may feel like, well, maybe they're not going to tear it up. Oh, no, they're going to tear this up. They've never done it. You ain't good at it the first time. The first time, I'm good at it after 40 times. But the very first time, and here's the thing. Takeovers have been proven in different states as well as Texas not to actually work. I want to know what the plan is to close the achievement gap. You see what I'm saying? I want to know how you going to take care of these special ed babies when you got a plethora of them. I want to know how you going to fix, over there at Wisdom High School, the United Nations of HISD. How you going to make that work? Yep. And lastly, your teacher shortage is about to increase. How do you do it? Now, people ask me, Monroe, do you support a takeover? Yep. I know the corruption. That's the side of the game that I know. And I believe that we cannot get past the corruption until we exterminate all these rats that's running around 4400 West 18th Street. Yeah, our schools might be old and decrepit, Michelle. But I think that the rats at 4400 West 18th Street is bigger than the rats at Alcott. Because we got some serious corrupt rats running around 4400 West 18th Street. And you know what I think? And I just think outside the box. So much has been done to hurt Black students, to hurt poor students. But yet they walk into a building every morning at 4400 West 18th Street that's named after the first Black trustee to sit on the school board in HISD. I think in the end that there's a special place in hell for some of these people for what they've done, for the number of careers they've stolen from people, the number of children they've destroyed, the number of parents they've disrespected. You see what I'm saying? So what do I support a takeover? Where I'm at right now, let's just get the ball rolling, man. Let's stop talking about it and let's go. We need to figure out where we at. You feel what I'm saying? And we got to figure out how to navigate it. And if y'all got any questions, go to Michelle's Facebook page and she can tell you what she saw in Orleans Parish. I know what it was. I can tell you what was going on in Beaumont. When they hit Beaumont with all the money they were stealing, people were literally jumping off of the Port Arthur Bridge and killing themselves with the amount of money that they stole. But even that amount of money, which I think was about 45 million, is nothing compared to pissing away 1.6 billion. 1.6 billion of COVID money that even in your school has never even made it down to the school level. Our loss of learning, and if I get this wrong, Michelle, correct me. Our loss of learning now is at 7 years. We were already 2 years behind. Then we went into the pandemic for 3 years, and now we're another 2 years behind.
Yeah.
Do you think that we can recover from that?
No. And I'm gonna be honest with you, that's a question I asked today. Like, when will we cycle through this? So my grandson, he was 4 when the pandemic hit. He's a post-pandemic child, so he's in pre-K. Those kids will be the kids that will save the district. He's 5. So we got another 5 years in this, at least. And COVID did not cause the gaps. COVID exposed.
We were already 2 years behind when COVID hit. We were already 2 years behind when COVID hit. So you know what I'm so sick of, and maybe you can expound on it. All these experts come every year from out of town, different cities, and they come in here with all these fancy plans and all these ideologies of what they need to do, how they're going to do it. Well, why we keep failing? Yeah. Why kids still can't read?
Honestly, they're not giving. We don't have the personnel. We don't have what we need. And then they don't listen to the teachers. That's my biggest issue. Like when Terry Greer got rid of all those teachers, it put a strain on an already strained system. So now you're calling retired teachers back. Those teachers don't want to come back to this mess that they've made. So HISD has never been a perfect system. But what it did have was some good teachers. Because when I started, we had some great teachers, but you ran them all off. They're all in other school districts, and they continue to run them off. So without the strong instructional support and the money actually making it to the school district, to the schools, we'll never be in a position to be what we need to be for students. We're not. Charter schools will always swoop in and take our students. You know why? Because what they do is and it doesn't really have to do with, for me, because I understand the marketing, it doesn't have anything to do with what charter schools are offering. A charter school cannot stand up to Carnegie Vanguard. It cannot stand up to a lot of our schools that have great programs. But what they can withstand is a whole bunch of discipline problems that they don't have because they don't play with their students like that. And, you know, subpar instruction, you know. So they swoop into, notice charter schools are not in affluent areas. They're in all high poverty areas. So they come in and take the parents and the students of the, you know, that want to do better. They take those students from us and leave us with what's left, you know.
Well, I know you're one of those teachers that care and you're very insightful. How do you fix a failing school?
You need to get a strong leader, because there's nothing we can do to usurp the leadership. You see that at Hattie Mae. It's the same thing. You don't have a good leader, there's nothing you can do but try to survive the turbulence. We need strong leadership in our schools. Strong leaders know how to go and find strong teachers. They're not with the mess, the toxicity, the cronyism. Nepotism runs amok in HISD, not just at Hattie Mae. It runs amok at the schools because you hire your friends not qualified. The people that are qualified, you don't want them because you know they have some sense of integrity. So, you know, you hire your friend who's going to let you do whatever you want with your budget. And, you know, it's a mess. We need strong leaders who know how to turn around a failing school. And those are not going to be your yes leaders, because HISD like their leaders passive and silent. That's what they like. That's what it takes to be a principal in HISD. God forbid you have one free thought or independent thought about how something is supposed to run at your school. That's the problem in HISD.
I'm gonna add to that. You said strong leadership is a way to turn it around. I think they need to invest money into different programming. They need better programming. If you want to compete with a charter school, you're gonna have to offer what they offer. And a lot of our schools that are struggling don't have anything to offer a child. They don't have anything. I mean, they remind me of minimum security prisons. They don't have anything to offer a child, especially our high schools. You know, a school like North Forest, who for 2 years had an automotive program, but didn't have a teacher to teach it. That makes no sense. Go get a mechanic. Oh, well, he got to be certified. And you're going to have to figure that out. Put him under some emergency certification or something, but those kids should not have sat there in that classroom for 2 years without a teacher, but yet they got a grade. Here we go. No child left behind. So Michelle, you get to close it out. Give them your final thoughts on anything that you want, and we'll go from there.
Like I said, I'm a teacher in HISD just like you all. And, you know, HISD is home for me. I'm not going nowhere. I'm a fighter. We're going to see this thing through. And I'm be still standing. I've been in this profession for 23 years, and we're not going anywhere. At least I'm not going anywhere. So if you think HISD is the place for you to be, we would love to have your membership, and we're going to fight this thing out, because at the end of the day, you know, it's about leaving legacy for my grandson and the legacy, you know, for our students, because at the end, that's all they have. So I just want to tell y'all that we're in there, and like the kids say, let it do what it do.
Well, I'm gonna tell y'all what, man. I normally end the show a certain way, and I know everybody loves the song Mr. Superintendent, and the regular version of Mr. Superintendent and the remix is on my new album that comes out March 20th. So if you want the album, it'll be on all the streaming platforms. Go support your boy. But I had to go find something for Millard, for Rick, Max Mall, my man, what's Sean Bird, Denise Watts. I had to go find the perfect song to end the show with tonight. And I found one that would fit them perfectly. So let's end the show with this. Until tomorrow.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no
It's the
more.
War Zone.
I
want to thank Michelle Williams.
What you say?
Millard.
Don't you come back no
Get them
more,
boxes
no
ready,
more,
big
no
homie.
more, no more. Hit the road,
Until tomorrow night.
Don't you come back no more.
Oh woman, don't treat me so mean. You're the meanest old woman that I've ever seen. I guess if you say so, I'll have to pack my things and go.
That's right, hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no